Hey, everybody. Welcome to Away Games, a Chicago Cubs podcast. My name is Kevin McCaffrey, and wouldn't you know it, I'm here with the other host of this Chicago Cubs baseball podcast. It's Adam Mamawala. What's up, Adam?
How you doing? Getting excited to watch our Cubbies at Wrigley Field on Friday during the day against the loathed St. Louis Cardinals.
Yes, good use of loathed. Is this going to be your first game at Wrigley this year?
This is going to be my first game at Wrigley since Ben Zobrist returned to the Cubs in September of 2019.
Wow. And I mean,
Nothing's changed since then in the world or for the Cubs.
or for Ben Zobrist. Yeah, it has been quite a few changes since then. Well, I think you're getting there just in time to turn the season around. You can follow us on Twitter and on Instagram at Away Games Pod if you'd like. And if you want to hear more Adam and I talking with other podcast friends, we did the Wrigleyville Nation podcast that came out yesterday, and we talked for a good hour with those guys. That was a nice hang.
That was a good time. I like doing the guesting on other pods. Perhaps we can do more of that collaborating in the off season as we all struggle for things to talk about before we get frustrated at the Cubs' lack of free agent signings.
We really could condense some of these Cubs podcasts, I think. I say this fully as one of them, but there are a lot. There's more than this current team deserves, I will say. There's more hours being talked about than this current moment in time of the Chicago Cubs probably deserves.
It's true, but as a fair weather podcast, we started this thing a few years ago. The Cubs were really good. It's only right that we ride it out until they lose 100 games.
Yeah, we would hit we would be podcasting during 100 loss year before we hit 100 win year, because we weren't podcasting during the 103 win 2016. Are the Cubs? Let me take a quick peek at this record. Are the Cubs still? They're not going to lose 100.
No.
As we speak, we're up to 67 wins. The worst or best we could do is a 95 loss year. As tonight, the Cubs are going up against the Twins, really battling for that 7th spot in the draft. Just a 1-game difference. Really compelling stuff.
I tell you what, this is going to be a real test of the power of my lady friend, because she has seen the Cubs twice this year and she's 2-0. Which it seems statistically unlikely.
You have wonderful in-person mojo with the Cubs in general. I think you obviously had that. You had that bizarre 2002 Oakland A's like stretch a couple years ago where you went straight undefeated. What was that? Was that 20? Was that 20?
That was 2018.
Right.
And I was 9-0 in person.
Mm-hmm. Incredible. I mean, just the odds of that are incredibly.
I would have preferred you going 1-1 at the last 2 games at Wrigley that year.
Adam, this tells us where we are in the season, because I had I woke up in the middle of the night. I'm a big believer in the hours of between 4 and 7 a.m. shouldn't exist. If I wake up in there, it's just a black hole of spiraling thoughts, life, baseball, whatever. So in the midst of one of those insomniac attacks last night, I started jotting down, I'm not kidding, and I didn't even plan on bringing this up in the podcast, but worst games I've been to, where I was like,
well, at least we share the first one.
Yes, exactly. And speaking of the opposite mojo that you and your personal life brings, my wife, we just celebrated 8 years of being married last night, 19 years of being together.
Wow.
So half our lives. But my wife Jamie started her Cubs viewing career in person 0-7, which is almost as unlikely as a 9-0 run.
I mean, if you're a Cubs fan, given that Jamie is a person that you love and a huge part of your life, do you have to trade Jamie?
I mean, she's brought, flags fly forever. So she was around for that, and we were at a bar down the street from Wrigley for Game 5 when you were in the stadium of Game 5 during the World Series. So she's, I guess it was just a rebuilding time for all of us. But then we hit our peak. But at the time, she wasn't even mad. Like, she understood it. Obviously, I've been a Cubs mark since she's known me. Mm-hmm. But yeah, she got to see, as her first game was the Victor Diaz Craig Brazel game, when LaTroy Hawkins came in, and she knew that was bad news. And boy, was it. And I looked up, so this is how much of an insomniac attack I had last night. I was looking up Victor Diaz baseball reference shit in pitch black 4 a.m. in the morning. Just off the top of your head, how old is Victor Diaz right now?
Probably younger than I think he is, but considering that game was in 2004, I bet he was young. I bet he's only like in his early 40s.
He's 34.
What?
I
How's that
think
possible?
I,
That can't be the case. No,
I,
no, 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 no.
I
Hold on.
think
Kevin,
no, that
he
can't
wasn't
be.
Henry Rowan Gardner. There's no way he's 34.
Hold
Because
on,
if
let
he
me.
were, if he's
That's right. No,
34
never
now,
mind.
yeah.
That's middle of the night looking. That is the last. I think 34 was, I guess, the last time he played a minor league game. But
Because I was about to freak out if you're telling me that a 13-year-old hit a game tying home run off of LaTroy
I
Hawkins,
mean, it
and
feels
then
like
Craig Brazzell, who did only hit one career home run.
right. It okay. No, he's 38. So they even still younger than
But
you would.
still, yeah. So he was 21, I guess, when that
Yeah.
happened, and he was from Chicago. It was a real Kipnis ass
Right.
situation.
So
The first game
yeah.
that I went to with my now ex-wife that I probably should have looked at as an omen.
Speaking of trading, yeah.
The I was at a Cubs Mets game, which is always a bad start to a story. And once again, Cubs closer, I knew I could feel it. Carlos Marmol just didn't have it. Kirk Neuenhuis hit a walk-off bomb into the upper deck at Citi Field,
Jesus.
and I just walked out silently, as I have done many times. And I was like, "Well, this is how it's going to be."
Yeah, I'll run down. I was in person with my family for World Series Game 3, which was obviously brutal. You cannot imagine how much money our family blew on not seeing the Cubs score. And then Dempster blowing a 6-1 lead at Citi Field in the ninth.
Eek.
First home game, Jamie saw Carlos Marmol blow a ninth inning save against the Braves. So that pushed
Sensing
her
a theme here.
yeah, that pushed her to 0-7 after seeing sweeps against the Yankees and Mets in New York
Wow.
as her for going to all 6 of those games. And then as you alluded to, which got us started on this, the Brewers Rockies back-to-back one-game playoffs of 2018.
Wow, this is not how I intended on starting this podcast, but I guess let me run through some in my head. Well, I mean, my first Cubs game ever. So in the time that I lived in Illinois, I was not actually into baseball. So my first game at Wrigley, it was a perfect Cubs game. It was the Cubs did not score, and they lost on a home run from someone largely irrelevant. It was a Giants Cubs game. I believe this was 2000, and your boy Rich Aurelia hit a 2-run home run in the top of the ninth. Cubs lost 2-0.
Absolutely, for a brief time, dominant offensive force, 38 home run hitting Rich Aurelia.
Yeah, I guess he wasn't that obscure, but I feel like now bringing up Rich Aurelia is like kind of a deep pull.
It is, well, because he had a very small window of extreme production during an era when there were some guys who did have such a profile. So,
right.
I
mean, my reaction when he hit that home run was, "Oh, really?"
Ah. Yes, him. Yeah. So that's. I mean, it feels like more of an off-season topic, but it's basically the off-season for the Cubs. So yeah, there's just been a tremendous amount of in-person games. A lot of the worst, like most painful game. The percentage of the Cubs' most painful games over the last 10, 15 years that I've been to in person feels high when I go over it like that. But hopefully your St. Louis versus Chicago game that you and your lady will be at in person will be better.
Well, here's the thing. I'm looking forward to a rare experience at Wrigley where, like, sure, I'm not going to be thrilled if they lose 12-0, but like I mostly don't care. Like, I'm there for the experience. I'm there, to show someone Wrigley for the first time and to just enjoy myself, which is, and I feel lucky to say this, not an experience that I've had at very many Cubs games over the past 5, 6, 7 years because they have been good, and pretty much every game I've gone to, whether it's April or September, has mattered. So it will be kind of nice to have that, like the experience that you or I get if we go to a Rockies Padres game where I'm like, I'm just here to enjoy myself. And I will say I've been to plenty of painful Cubs games. Weirdly, and I don't know why I know this, I believe today is what would it be? 13-year anniversary of when I saw Jason Marquis hit a grand slam at Shea Stadium. Pretty sure about that. I would have to look it up. I remember it being around this time. But I have had very good luck with high stakes games. Like the only 2 Cubs playoff games I've ever been to are Game 5 of the World Series and Game 5 of the 17 NLDS in DC. So like that's a pretty good.
Absolutely. Those, I mean, those are 2 of the best endings for highest stress quotient games of all time. Were those 2 Game 5s? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think you and I would agree that if there were any game, including Game 7 of the World Series, like if there were any game that I could go back in time and be at, I think it would be Game 6 of the NLCS. Like just a
Mhm.
pure joy,
Yeah.
like coasting. It's going to happen. Not like I feel like I'm going to throw up the whole time.
Yeah, exactly. As far as pure happiness, I think it's hard. It's hard to beat
Yeah.
that game six. Well, those 2021 is definitely a Cubs year that makes you want to look back at other years and just shave off this year. And
Mhm.
like shaving off this year, getting rid of the extra.
Oh boy.
I think one thing that we recommend you do is get involved with our friends at Manscaped who
Hmm.
support us, and you can manscape yourself, shave yourself into the shape of a team that you want to be physically for your
Hmm.
teammates. And you can do that by using the promo code away games to get 20% off at Manscaped and free shipping anywhere.
Yeah, and we want you to know, as listeners, that we actually do stand for something because
Yeah.
we got a little DM slide
Yes.
from a knockoff ball company asking us if we would promote their shit, and we were like, you know what, we're good with Manscaped. Actually, we just blocked them. It seemed kind of spammy, but
Yeah,
I do
the
think it's a
grammar
real
was
company.
off. The
Yeah,
word balls was in the thing, I think. It was like,
yeah. Apparently, the deposed Prince of Nigeria needs his balls shaved. It was something
uh-huh.
along those lines.
Hey, yeah, he's just a
Uh,
man like any of us. Or is he? Yeah.
But I have been using the Lawnmower 4.0. I have no frame of reference. I don't know how 1 through 3.0 were, but I got to tell you,
Mhm.
4.0, pretty good stuff. Highly recommend. And again, use promo code Away Games to to do what you need to do. And I got to tell you, your balls will thank you. And I don't know if this is a sanctioned piece of advice, but I feel like it would even be useful for ladies. Who can say?
Look, it's just a thing that buzzes that grooms
Hmm.
you. So, and it's quiet. It's extremely quiet.
It is.
I would
It's
say
the Prius of shaving your balls.
it really is. So, Way Games is the promo code, 20% off, free shipping, and you're keeping this podcast going.
Hey,
So,
Kevin, let me ask you this question
mhm,
since we started off with some kind of bummer stuff. In
mhm,
this pretty much lost season,
mhm.
what are some things that you are hoping happens in the next couple weeks that would like make you happy? Whether it's, Wisdom gets to 30 home runs or the Cubs sweep the Cardinals in 4 games. Like, what are some things that would be like tiny little boosts for you?
I think it would be so great if it would be funny if the Cubs lost every game except the games against the Cardinals. I think,
Yeah.
if I'm really nitpicking, maybe I don't want to see the Cubs. Look, if I'm watching the Cubs, I cannot root for anything but for them to win. But at this point in the season, if I'm not watching and I see the result that they lost, I'm like, great, let's whatever get one spot closer to maybe a franchise changing player in the draft at the top end. Sure, whatever. But I think it would be funny, and I would love to lose every game except for the games against the Cardinals. Would just be
Mhm.
would be an LOL situation. The Cardinals are looking pretty safe in that second wild card spot right now. They're
Yeah.
four
Not
games
as
up, I
safe as
want
the
to say.
Dodgers are in the first wild card spot
Yeah,
or whoever loses the West.
they're
Yeah.
they're looking at like a 20 game lead almost
Yeah.
at that first game. So I mean, outside of the Cubs, honestly, I would like to see the Giants win the West. Is
Definitely.
probably the thing I'm rooting most for. I want the Dodgers in that one game playoff one way or another. I want to see our boy Chris Bryant safely in those playoffs for San Francisco in a real way. So yeah, I would love to see the Cubs beat the Cardinals a little bit. That would just be fun when the games are mattering for the Cardinals, even though they're probably safe and they're likely to get in terms of actual individual player stuff, I want to see Ian Happ close out the year hot. I'd like to see Wilson get on a heater, and he's been hitting some bombs this week.
Mhm.
Like Wilson Contreras has been showing some power. He's over 20 homers again after missing some time. His average is low. It's down around 228, which I think is about as low as you're ever going to see Wilson go in a season. But I'd like to see him when I'm starting to be like, I'd like to see him finish out the year healthy. What a bummer of a year that is. I think I'd like to see, here's the thing I'd like. Nico Horner hit one home run challenge.
Seriously.
Nico's back. So I hear a lot about how buff Nico got and everything. My dude hasn't hit a homer since 2019.
Yeah.
I think, right?
Yeah, you're right.
That is correct. And homers aren't the be all end all, but I'd like it for him to get off the schneid a little bit, because at some point it has to get in your head that you're thinking about it. So
Yeah.
I'll leave it with that. Nico Horner hit one home run challenge.
Okay.
How about you?
I got 3 words for you, Kev.
Yeah.
Extend Trace Thompson. That's all I'm saying.
Yes. Trace Thompson. Speaking of power.
Oh yeah, I mean two dingers already in his brief time with the Cubs. Man, nothing like a trace or a jace to really indicate that you're a baseball player.
Yeah. Trace Thompson, perfect for this Cubs regime because he's older than you think and a prospect. So I mean, well,
Right.
depending on what your definition of prospect is, I suppose.
I mean, just when you thought the Twitter account Daily Random Cub was going to run out of people, they really restocked the lineup in a beautiful way. The one thing that I would like the most, and we talked about this on the podcast that we guested on, I would love to see one really great Kyle Hendricks start before the end of the
Yeah,
year. Like
I'd
I would
like
like
that
to
too.
see him finished on a positive note. I love a Maddox if I'm getting picky about what I want.
Mm-hmm.
Naturally, I would like to see the Cubs win in person. I think that would be fun. I am deeply grateful that John Lester is not going to win his 200th game at Wrigley. I believe he is lined up to pitch in that series, and I would have liked to see him if that were
Mm-hmm.
possible. But and again, we talked about it last week. It genuinely feels like years ago that Lester pitched as a national at Wrigley Field, and that's like May of this year. It's very
Yeah, it
strange.
feels like last year. Yeah.
So yeah, I'd love to see Hendricks get a nice start before the end of the year. Wisdom getting to 30 home runs would be really cool. I believe he's still at 27. Hap, yeah, same thing. Like if Hap can really go on a tear and get to 30 as well, that would be cool. Yeah, other than that, I feel like there have been like pretty good vibes with this Cubs team in the context of what is going on. So yeah, keep Schwindel hot. What a story it's been for him. And yeah, I think that's about all I got. And we do the away games and away games adjacent people do have Friday covered because I will be at game one of the doubleheader, and our boy Ken Schultz will be at game two. So
Oh, nice.
yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. The our third man, our
Mhm.
swing man on this podcast, Ken
I
Schultz from
uh,
Outsports.
Yep, I have tickets in section 220, which is behind home plate. I believe it's like under the overhang and hopefully not behind a metal pole. But
Mm-hmm.
the tickets were less than $16 a piece for a
That's
Cubs Cardinals Friday last series at Wrigley game.
I mean, I'm not kidding, and it's probably the same for you. You cannot get in the building to see you or me do stand up in Chicago for that money. Like, I
No.
think the cover is more for me
Mm-hmm.
to be at Zany's October 7th through the 9th at Rosemont. It is more than $16. And it probably is for you when you're there in December 3rd and 4th at Zany's Old Town, Chicago.
Nice. Good plug.
Thank
You
you.
ever feel like you're the Trace Thompson of comedy? Because I do.
Absolutely, because I'll hit a bomb. Like I've hit a couple bombs in my life, but no one's counting on me. You know what I mean?
I feel like the Michael Hermosillo of comedy. I feel like just when I get my shot, something goes wrong.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Both guys who have been had some some shots at the majors, but still looking to still want to get the years in to get on the pension situation. Rack up that service time. But yeah,
Now you'll be in where is it like Champaign Urbana Champaign, whatever it's called,
yeah,
on
I'm doing
October 2nd.
yeah, one night only. I'll be doing Saturday, October 2nd. I'll be in Champaign,
Is there a club
Champaign.
there?
There's basically a one night a week spot.
Nice.
CU comedy, C-U comedy, and I've done a show with
Cool.
them before a couple years ago, and it was great.
Nice.
Jesse Tuttle's the name of a local comic there who runs stuff. So yeah, I'll be in Champaign, Illinois, headlining one night on October 2nd. If you happen to be down in that area, come say hello. And then October 7th through the 9th at a fully vaccinated Zany's
Boom.
Rosemont. So that'll be so I guess and then later on, more in the off season, you'll get Adam at Zany's in December. So
Yeah.
there's our personal plugs. But I guess the last Cubs thing I'll talk about as you say that the vibes have been good around the team. I think that's true, and I think everyone seems like these are guys who are really trying. Not that the guys weren't trying before, but
Hmm.
everyone's fighting. They're doing their best. I don't think anyone's mailing it in, and part of that is because a lot of these guys are fighting for roster spots in their future individually too. But I guess I worry that that's that's after you do a teardown. I guess that's the roster you're going to have. But I'm already wary of having a roster like that next year too, where it's a little easier to have good vibes when shit doesn't matter in a team
Right.
sense, you know? And they've built a team that, for the most part, except for a guy like Kyle Hendricks, and that could be, you know, one element in the struggle here is Kyle Hendricks broke in as a rookie, was fighting for a spot. So that really, really matters. And then he's been in a pennant race every year since. So this is the first time he's been at a place where the team just doesn't really matter, you know? Um, and I think like we just, it's just not a major league contending team or roster or anywhere close to it. And I'm happy for all these guys. And I need to see less of these guys on the major league roster next year, which sounds mean, but
Right.
that's just what it is.
No, I mean fluke 7 game winning streak aside, if you field a team like this for 162 games, you will lose 100 games. There's no getting around it.
Just yeah, you just
And
have
that's
to
just something that it can't happen if you're the Cubs. And I think I I don't think people will put up with it. I think
they're kind of not right now.
Hoyer, they're not. No, if you
Yeah.
look at the crowds, they're very small. And even this weekend against the Cardinals, I'll report back, of course, but I don't think any of those games will be fully sold out. And I think if you field a team like this next year, you're probably not even going to sell out opening day. So at a certain point, it's just bad business to not at least like feign putting a good team on the field, even if it's a bunch of like stopgap guys until our teenagers are ready to play.
Yeah, and I think one thing I've been thinking about as I've been listening to other Cubs podcasts and you know and reading up about the Cubs and all this stuff, which I still, of course, do obsessively because I'm sick. But like this, there's a lot of guys you can hope for, and I do hope for. There's almost no one on this team you can count on. Mm-hmm. This team needs a lot more you can count on people because I think we're at a point with like all of the younger guys who I am excited about. Like I like Nico Hoerner. I really do. I like Nico Hoerner. We love Justin Steele. We got a lot of love for Adbert Alzolay. I'm hopeful for Keegan Thompson. We like Alec Mills. Like everyone I'm naming right now, and you can throw in a Schwindel, a Wisdom, or your Ortegas, whatever. Everyone I'm naming, all those guys need to be able, if they're in the starting lineup or starting rotation, they need to fight for it and prove it. Like I'm at the point where it's like with Nico Hoerner, he cannot be assumed to have a starting a spot in the starting 9. He has to fight his way in at whatever position he can. And I feel the same way about those pitchers. So this is a team where in this year's free agency, you just have to go out and lock up some spots where it's okay. We now have an everyday player at this position, shortstop, an outfielder, etc. Because right now it's a lot of guys who you cannot just be assuming they're going to be regular contributors. They have to earn their way in every day next year if you're going to be a winning team.
I think that's a good point. And I think what we're talking about here is that like a large percentage of this current Cubs team are players who I think in some capacity could be regular major leaguers. And
Absolutely.
I would like them to be. But you can't fill out a team with a bunch of guys who should basically fill in the roster spots between like 20 and 26 on your depth chart.
Yes, and that's exactly what this team. You're building the whole thing out of really good bench parts and rotational players. It seems like, yeah. I mean, and it as the mediocre Cardinals are showing us, it doesn't take that much to compete for this stupid second wild card spot that I wish didn't even exist. But like it doesn't take that much. It takes some basic competency, and it would be really nice to see that. So yeah.
What are your thoughts on the status of the playoff races? What do you see panning out? I mean, I guess clearly in the NL it's a little less interesting than I think we hoped it would be. Like, whoever loses the West gets that first spot, and man alive, if whoever that is loses that game, that's going to be really frustrating for their fans.
Yes,
especially if it's like if the Giants end up getting that wild card spot after being in first all year, probably almost certainly winning 100 games, and then they get knocked out by like that is the worst case scenario for me is the Cardinals beating the Giants in that one game wild.
I agree. That's like probably of all the possible playoff scenarios, that's the one that would bum me out the most. I would say would be Cardinals beating the Giants in the one game. Dodgers have gone 9-1 over the last 10. It's not even like San Francisco's giving it away. San Francisco's 7-3 over the last 10. Talk about giving it away. San Diego's rocking at 2-8. But you know.
What do you do in San Diego?
What are you doing? And what was you doing was putting up 7 shutout innings. You Darvish, after
Mm.
a rough run, he put up 7 shutout against the Cardinals, and the Padres ended up losing that 3-2. So it's a bummer. Yeah, I think, and as we speak right now, Wednesday morning, St. Louis is 4 games up. They've gone 10-0 over their last 10. So
Jesus.
that'll do it. But I mean, literally Cincinnati is 4 games behind them. Philly is 4.5 and San Diego's 5. So it just seems like that's pretty much set. And then the really exciting, like the AL is interesting because you've got Boston, Toronto, and the Yankees all within 1.5 games of each other. Oakland and
And
Seattle,
yeah, they're like
Oakland,
two,
Seattle
three.
are each
Yeah.
3 games back
Right.
of that second wild card spot. I want to see, honest, it would be great to see Seattle get in there. I root for everybody being tied and just seeing what happens when that's the case. I would love to see the 3 teams tied atop the AL East. And then I don't know what you do. Do you play a round robin, like 1 game playoff amount among all of them?
Yeah,
And then the
amazingly,
wild
we've
card?
never seen it. You would think we would have run into that at some point, but I don't think it's happened yet. Yeah, as sexy as a potential Red Sox Yankees 1 game wild card would be, unless it involves Schwarber hitting a walk off, I don't know that I really want to see it. Oh, Schwarber or Rizzo, I guess we'll say it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would much rather see like the Jays and especially the Mariners get in. I you got to feel for Mariners fans at this point. They've become the Pirates.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, the Mariners have not made the postseason since 2001
Yeah,
when
and they
they
would be
won.
winning the NL East, but baseball
Yeah.
doesn't work like that.
Yeah. So yeah. It's as we said before, it's not terrifically exciting as a Cubs fan in this moment. The offseason should be interesting and hopefully exciting in some way. But overall, baseball wise, we're set up for a good 2 week sprint to the finish here.
Yeah, who you rooting for in the inevitable Cardinals Astros World Series?
Oh my God, Jesus Christ! For the sun to expand and swallow us all, I suppose. Yeah, I mean, it's a good question.
Cardinals Yankees or Cardinals Astros is my worst case scenario World Series.
Yeah, I got no love for the Yankees. I feel like you have more disdain for them, which I appreciate and respect. Yeah,
I guess I could root for Rizzo to win a World Series.
That's the thing. Yeah, if I was going to, if I was ever to root for the Yankees, I would absolutely root for Rizzo to win. That's kind of the thing. I'll root for whatever team the legendary Cub is on at this point.
Right.
And they're spread across a few teams. There's you boys, Kimbrel and Tepera with the White Sox. You've got Rizzo with the Yankees. You've got Bryant in San Francisco. You've got fan fave Andrew Chafin now closing for the Oakland A's, who's still
I didn't even realize that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
wow, good for him.
He's been doing great. So he's still in the mix. Javi,
I mean, as we know, Andrew Chafin time traveled from the 1970s A's in the first place, so it makes sense that he's there.
So he's just used to dynasty A's, really. Yeah. And Javi's done everything he could. He's basically been the best Met over the while he's been there. He's been on fire offensively, and yeah, but they're out of it. So go parentheses former Cubs, I guess. But
I mean, what we're looking at with the Mets is kind of, I guess, what you might consider the worst case scenario for this year's Cubs had they not traded at the deadline, which is like, try to go for it and then still miss the playoffs and be like, well, shit.
Well, shit would be the hashtag Cub together, hashtag well shit would have been
hashtag Cub apart.
Cub apart. How is that not a hashtag? Once again, Adam, the wizard of the t-shirt.
Now that's a good obvious shirt.
It's
really
a little bit
of a bummer, but
it's a little bit of a bummer, but it fits at the moment. Yeah. Well, I think that's all I got on my list to talk about for this week. How about you, Adam? Any
that's
all
points? I got. I am flying out to Chicago tomorrow night, and even if the Cubs suck, it's still a hell of a city.
Hell yeah. You'll have a great time. So thanks for listening, everybody. We'll be back again. We'll do another one of these next Wednesday. We'll hear about Adam's visit then and how that went. And thanks for listening, and follow us at Away Games Pod on Twitter and Instagram. And once again, the promo away games over at Manscaped for 20% off, free shipping, and keeping us doing this freaking podcast. Bye, everybody.